Hey everybody, Hamster Sales here with another Starcraft 2 commentary, this time of a pro game. As you may have noticed, it is between Stephano and Kiwikaki, two of Europe's top players. I haven't done a Starcraft 2 commentary for a while, so why not commentate the best, I guess, if you're going to employ any kind of logic. That's the best type to do so, I think, the optimistic logic there, getting back to my game. I'm already rambling, I'm clearly rusty, but this should be a lot of fun. We have a pro game on Shattered Temple between two extremely famous players. This is game 2 of a series played on the IPL, which is a very cool stream. If you haven't seen it on Twitch TV, they've got a nice little GSL style tournament going on there, the folks at IGN. So check out their channel on twitch.tv. I understand this is game 2 of a series that they played. I don't know who has won what games, so if you don't want to know who wins this game, turn it off right now. But otherwise, this was rated very highly on a replay site that I frequent, and I figured I would give it a cast. Supposedly it's an epic game. I don't know who wins one way or the other. We're just going to have to wait and see. It's like you were watching it live. They do a really good job there on that stream. I haven't been watching it lately, but I do watch it whenever it's on and they have a zerg playing. I pretty much don't watch anything on my own that doesn't have a zerg in it. But if you want to send me replays, like I always encourage you to, don't worry if it's a PVT or TVP or one of the mirror matches. I will cast anything that my viewers want to send in. And yeah, nothing happening so far in this game. This is a tournament version of the map, so of course they put supply depots here to prevent cheesy block-ins, because nobody wants to see that in a tournament. Want to see a little bit more standard, fair, and exciting play. And of course, close position is impossible on this map because it is extremely difficult for Zerg to compete close position against Terran or Protoss. And I hear it's pretty difficult for Protoss to compete against Terran close position as well. They can do some pretty brutal 2-base all-in type stuff. It affects the Zerg Protoss just about as badly as it does the Zerg. Both us Protoss and Zerg players like to play relatively defensive early sometimes. And Kiwikaki here playing fairly defensive, doing a very greedy Forge expand. Yeah, it must have been, it was Forge first obviously, and then into Nexus. I was rambling on, wasn't paying attention to the exact build there, but this is pretty cool. He's creating a kind of a crazy wall here, but it is clearly a wall. He's got a photon cannon here, so any units are really, in order to get into the main, are going to have to go all the way around here. Photon cannon is protecting the Nexus here from Zerglings. So this is a very clever wall, something you saw a lot of Brood War players do. Just a couple years ago is when I started watching, well, maybe 2-3 years ago, I started watching a lot of Brood War replays on YouTube. And towards the end of Brood War's life cycle, this is what a lot of Protoss pros were doing, this kind of crazy Forge fast expand wall in and getting a Nexus very quickly. That, of course, provides you additional benefits in StarCraft 2. You get a lot of extra chrono boost. Stephano's gone for a relatively standard expand style, sending his first queen down to get some additional injects on the expansion there. He now has 2 queens set up. You know, I do something a little different with my queens, which must mean it's not optimal if the pros aren't doing it. For the most part, that's what it means. I mean, sometimes they might have something wrong, but you can assume for the most part, if they're getting paid to play this game, that they do everything just about as perfectly as you can. I get my first queen, just stick her at my first base as fast as I can, and just about whenever she finishes building off of 14 pool, 14 gas, I just start building another one and just keep her injecting. And then I send the second one down, plop a creep to him right here, connect my bases early with creep, and have an early second queen is kind of what I like to do. But Stephano getting one a little later than I do. Of course, that's not a criticism at all of Stephano, like I said. If the pros are doing it, there's probably a very good reason. And Stephano taking kind of an insane third base over here. You know, I say insane, but I mean, there's actually a relatively common defensive area here, come to think about it, considering the close positions are so close to one another. But it is spotted right away by Kiwikaki by that probe that Stephano killed with the Zergling. And, you know, I like this third base a lot. His opponent has Forge fast expanded, so he's not going to be aggressive early, of course. He could send these first 4 Zealots out maybe after he crushes these rocks, but he has to be intending to expand to this third if he's killing the rocks so early. So I doubt we'll see much pressure here. So this is setting up to be a pretty epic macro game. Should be a lot of fun to watch. And nothing really exciting as far as the builds just yet. Just now getting his cybernetics core as Kiwikaki, which is extremely late at the 7-minute mark. But not too late for this kind of super eco forge, fast expand, super fast nexus type of build. Very reminiscent of what the pros were doing towards the end of Brood War. And yeah, now we have 6 zealots on the field making their way down. Sorry for the box selection, I know some people don't like that, but I wanted to count the zealots there, and my eyes just weren't doing the trick. We don't have the third base yet saturated by Stephano, but he is sending a queen all the way out here to get production going. Does he know these zealots are on the way to cause trouble? Looks like he's doing an attack with these lings, or a run-by, which is going to turn out to be kind of a counterattack. It seems he knew that these zealots are coming. I don't think that's enough lings to kill now 8 zealots. Not at all. He's going to have to sacrifice his base if he doesn't get additional zerglings down quickly. What did he do with these zerglings? He is attacking the third for Kiwikaki, so I'm going to completely prevent that. So I think he can feel comfortable now sacking the third, now that he knows he is likewise denying the third for Kiwikaki. Yeah, he just did a straight up run by there. Nothing is preventing him from getting to this third at all, especially with these zealots way out of position, destroying this base here. And I think Stephano might go for the kill on these zealots, expecting the broodlings to aid in the attack, of course. And that's exactly what they're going to do. These zealots getting completely surrounded and wiped out. So very clever use of the broodlings there by Stephano. Zerg players sometimes forget, I think, that they get a nice, tiny little bonus for having lost a building, especially on one like a hatchery. It's a small consolation to get those little broodlings, but in that case, Stephano making very good use of those broodlings to help wipe out the attacking force and immediately replaces that expansion. Kiwikaki is not yet re-expanded himself, so he may be intending to follow this up with some pressure. He is throwing down a robo facility and many gateways. My gosh. He's going to go up to 6 gates and a robo. So he may push with some kind of immortal pressure or go all the way up to Colossus. We're going to have to see. Stephano again running by with these lings. If nothing else, going to find out if there is that third up. Kind of a misclick there, I think, unless he intends to hide these lings, which may be the case. Does he have a baneling's nest? He could try for some trickery. No baneling nest on the field. It does have a Hydra den, so okay, and Stephano has his lings set up in a nice little patrol route. Looks like they're going to be taken out though if Kiwikaki can use force fields effectively, and we all know that he can. Those lings are not going to be able to leave. Elects to let those lings leave his base. Knows that the cannons will be covering the main. Yeah, and elects not to waste force fields there. Probably a smart move there by Kiwikaki. And let's take a look at the unit composition. We only have 9 lings, but 19 roaches from Stephano. So I don't know if this is defensive. He is moving out with these, maybe to break down the rocks for the third for even easier access. Assuming that Kiwikaki will start to defend this choke he has with Zealous and Sentries. Yeah, I assume that's what he's going to... Yeah, he's heading right for those rocks with those roaches. Photon Cannon is spotting the high ground. I don't think Stephano ever scouted that. Let's see. Did he... No, he didn't really scout that until just now. So, now he's pushing it with the roaches. Kiwikaki is going to have to make very clever use of these force fields. Stephano definitely a superior force at this point, but tons and tons of sentries going to be able to hold off almost indefinitely. A nice snipe at the forge by Stephano, but Kiwikaki going to be able to force field off nearly indefinitely with that type of a sentry count. Stephano's going to need to do something tricky or get some additional tech in order to break that wall, but he is now free to kind of wail on these rocks. Those poor zerglings meeting their end, unable to attack from range. And Stephano only going to keep 5 roaches on these rocks. So he's not going to push in here, just creating that access, maybe trying to keep Kiwikaki paranoid, make him plop down some additional defenses here. And it's going to distract his attention if he knows these rocks are down. He's not going to be able to just plop his forces here at the only defensive position. But Kiwikaki did ramp up for that aggression as far as potential aggression as far as his production is concerned. He's got the 6 gates, so he might have added more. And he has gone up to Colossi Tech and is chrono boosting out the Colossus, his first Colossus. Stephano in the meantime taking a 4th and 5th base. So if he's allowed to saturate these, he could become extremely scary. I think he prefers a Ling Ultra Infestor style. I've seen a few of his games. Currently sitting with the roaches though. Ling Ultra Infestor probably more effective against Terran, at least in my experience, but that is at a much lower level than these two guys. And Stephano spreading out creep over his quarter of the map or so, getting a little bit more than 25% coverage at this point maybe. And a first Colossus added to the army of Kiwikaki. And don't know if this is the best time to put on pressure. Stephano has a pretty decent force now. Just going to send out some Phoenix to scout, some hallucinated Phoenix. Extremely smart move, especially since he's got so many had a decent amount of sentries before, but hasn't yet added to that count. But with 5 sentries, with plenty of energy, might as well scout out your Zerg opponent. Exactly what he's doing. And we've got some burrowed Hydras here at the 3rd for Stephano. That is an interesting choice. Hydras look extremely weird, burrowed like that. It's kind of cool. Let's zoom in there. I have a keyword bind for my zoom right now as to not accidentally do it during a game, but yeah, they look pretty freaky burrowed. I don't think I've ever seen them burrowed in a multiplayer game before. Regardless, Kiwikaki is breaking down the rocks to take a 4th at his gold. And this is shaping up kind of strange. Stephano getting Corruptors. Maybe just for the Colossus, but I assume he's going for Broodlord Tech. I've not been paying attention to production. I apologize for that. Whoa, whoa, whoa. What did I miss here? That must have been some Warp Prism play. And maybe Kiwikaki was looking to push behind that, but I don't know. If he doesn't have the distraction of the Zealots in the mineral line of a base, I don't think he's going to want to push out this type of force. Stephano definitely has the Corruptors to take it out, but some very clever force fields by Kiwikaki. Stephano going to kind of chase one of these Colossus with these Corruptors and manages to circumvent the force fields, and is going to be able to engage most of the rest of the army as well. A couple of Colossus going down there, I believe, maybe 2 or 3. And Stephano making a very aggressive push here. I think he's going to want to stop pretty soon, maybe just lose these ground forces behind the force field and back off. Because he's taking some fairly heavy losses now, down to mostly Hydras. Not enough Roaches to really tank for this amount of Stalkers, I don't think. Corruptor is almost completely useless. Not utilizing the corruption ability. Probably better served to macro than use the 20% damage buff from. But he does have a lot of them, so spamming that over the ground army could have been pretty useful. I'm not sure if Kiwikaki saw those units burrow. He has no observer, obviously, and none is on the way. So is throwing down a couple of photon cannons, which will find the Zerg units eventually. So Stephano's either going to have to join an attack here, or somehow get these units out alive. Oh, losing a few Corruptors fairly needlessly. Maybe trying to snipe some Colossus. Although, maybe he was just setting up this kind of clever sandwich here. He has kind of caught the units of Kiwikaki out of position, so very clever move there. Very, very clever use of burrow. Sorry to say clever quite so many times. And he manages to take out some extra Colossus with these Corruptors, which weren't doing much else. Now using the corruption ability, he may have used it in the previous fight and I just missed it. The effect is fairly subtle. And these Hydras are going to do decent against the Stalkers, but not quite the hit points to stand up to them in a direct fight like that. And they all melt away. But taking down some Colossus for Kiwikaki, a very good move by Stephano. But now is throwing these Corruptors away. He's not too close to the supply cap, so I can't imagine he was trying to clear supply there. Maybe he was, but I mean, he's at 166 out of 200. Not exactly the time to start clearing supply for bigger and better things. But let's see what his tech path might be here. He's sticking on layer to this point at the 19-minute mark. He's gotten some favorable engagements, and he's on a higher number of bases. So why not stick with layer tech? Kind of just flood your opponent in different places, try to take advantage of positioning. Losing a lot of Lings there, probably not the best force to engage with. I think he's underestimating the forces of Kiwikaki, unless I'm missing something. I don't see any diversion attacks. I think he might just be using this as another opportunity to snipe Colossus. Not going to quite get this one, though. And Kiwikaki has a pretty sizable force still. 22 additional Roaches on the way for Stephano, though. That economy really kicking in now. Able to max out almost instantaneously. And I think he's going to need some additional Corruptors to continue sniping Colossus like he's done. He's done a really good job of keeping that death ball pretty small and not too deathy. And he's going to have to keep doing that. Taking down his back rocks to take more bases, or another additional base. And just keep the economy rolling. He's doing a very good job saturating all his bases very evenly. Doesn't look like he has a super high worker count. He is on 81, so that's just about as many as you need. No reason to get too many more. Most of them are on the gold here. When I did that little check, I think that's what I missed. sending out a bit of a diversionary force of roaches here. This is a pretty expensive diversionary force, but I guess it's worth it. You know, looks like he's gonna nestle them in the minerals there and cause some harassment to his base. But Kiwikaki just gonna be able to warp in some defenses and clean it up fairly easily. He's probably gonna have to bring more than this though. That's a decent roach count. Yeah, he's warping in additional stalkers. Should do just fine with this, getting some cannon shots in there as well. Probably gonna have to micro against the roaches to clean them up super effectively, but oh, and there was a bit of an engagement at the front there. I apologize for missing that. Looks like some roaches got cut off by force fields there. Wasn't able to snipe any Colossus. Doesn't look like that one with low health is still alive. And Stephano's getting stuck in some kind of lower tech. He's just got roaches still. He has not yet gone up to Hive. And this could be bad for him. Kiwikaki is getting a mothership, which is brutal in the hands of a really smart Protoss player. Vortex can be extremely devastating, especially if you add Archons to mix the ever-infamous Archon toilet, where you throw your opponent's whole army into a Vortex, throw your own Archons in as well, and then when they come out, all the Archons are in prime position to do some epic splash damage. Looks like these roaches elected to burrow. They have the movement upgrade and are being fairly pesky. These cannons are giving sight for a moment to Kiwikaki, but unable to finish the roaches off. That is a lot of corruptors for Stephano, so I like this force. He's going to be able to brutalize these Colossus. He knows Kiwikaki is sticking to Colossus tech, and that is a ton of corruptors. I think he's going to do very well against this Colossus heavy death ball. Roaches are melting away extremely quickly. It's going to be the ground army this week for Stephano. The lack of any way to deal with the corruptors for Kiwikaki, his main weakness. And now Stephano can just max right back up on roaches. At least relatively quickly. Oh no, he has switched to infestors in a very clever move there. Now no Colossus to murder the infestors from range, so why not switch to infestors? Get a lot of fungal growth down on the Protoss army here. Very effective against stalkers. Kiwikaki, if he has an observer, he can blink up to the high ground. There it is. Looks like that's what he's going to do, cause some serious harassment in the main base. If these Zerglings hang around, they'll be able to deal with the stalkers pretty well. See how quickly he reacts. Just about instantly, fungal growth going on down on this expeditionary harassment force for Kiwikaki. Ling is going to be very effective at cleaning this up. Lots of fungals. Didn't have quite enough fungals to keep the stalkers there. They do escape with blink. I was expecting Stephano to pin them down there, but not enough infestors with energy nearby to do so. Now switching up to Infestor Ling Corruptor, which is going to be effective against a Protoss with a minimal number of Colossus. He only has 2 out in the field currently, getting 2 more. And Stephano's done a decent job of limiting the death ball of Kiwikaki, but Kiwikaki now on even bases. Looks like they both have their sides of the map completely covered in expansions. Not all of them saturated, especially this one from Kiwikaki, and not this one from Stephano. But that'll change shortly. They'll no doubt Maynard their workers when it becomes convenient. And Protoss against Zerg on equal base, the conventional wisdom is that Protoss is at an advantage. Kiwikaki is maxed and with a mothership. This is an extremely difficult force for the Zerg player to deal with. He does have fungal growth, but he's got a lot of corruptors that are severely damaged. I mean, they're going to be great against the mothership and against the Colossus, but we'll see what happens here. Stephano may be going to turn these into Broodlords. He does finally have Hive Tech. I'm not sure exactly when that happened, but no Greater Spire as of yet. So I don't know if he really wants to turn them into Broodlords, because Colossus can melt the Broodlings so quickly, and he's got such a heavy stalker number that he can fairly effectively deal with Broodlords, especially with the mothership is going to be able to vortex the extremely slow-moving Broodlords. Although, I mean, you know, then again, the corruptor count of Stephano is so high, and they do tons of damage to the mothership. Should be able to finish it in a volley or two. Kiwikaki looks like he's going to do some pretty epic harassment, if you can call it that. I mean, he's just going to wipe out this expansion for Stephano. Yeah, and he's just going to get away scot-free. All of these Colossus able to move over the ledge, but no, Stephano moving in, fungling all the stalkers up front, and corruptors. Oh, that was a sick recall by Kiwikaki. So annoying if you've ever had that done to you as a Zerg player. I feel your pain, Stephano. You've got all of the Colossus out of position. Looked like they were all going to die, but he gets away with 4 of them. I think he had 6 or so previously. And Kiwikaki able just to remax up very quickly. His production has hit kind of a critical mass as Protoss, and he's been allowed to get so many bases. such a huge economy. It's going to be really, really hard for Stephano to bring him down. It's going to take a pretty crazy level of multitasking. Probably going to have to switch up his tactics too, because while he might be able to win, while he might be able to do pretty well in a straight up fight, and he is getting Broodlords here, a bit of a switch in tactics. Yeah, I think this is exactly what he needs. This number of Broodlords could get him back in the game, but they're just so easy to vortex, and it could be devastating. Especially without those corruptors anymore. He has no fast way to deal with the mothership. You can neural parasite a mothership, of course, but with the range nerf to infestors, that's harder than it's ever been. With only 7 range, and Colossus have like 7 or 9 range or so, right? Yeah, they have 9 range, so with quite a nice little range advantage on the infestors, these Colossus should be able to deal with them before you can get a neural parasite off on the mothership. But Kiwikaki here is setting. It looks like he's setting up for another recall. I don't think that base was back up and running just yet. But regardless, some additional damage being done here. And it looks like we're going to see a recall very soon, probably just when the Broodlords start to rain down Broodlings. It kind of sucks you can recall units that have been fungled. Expect to see this recall any second now. Kiwikaki kind of laid on it, I have to say. But Stephano able to do some good damage before the recall goes off. That's a pretty big deal. Kiwikaki down, 20 supply under max, but Stephano also losing quite a few units in that engagement. Looked like he's down to, but as I say that, both players very quickly max out with this insane production they have. Stephano doing the wall of crawl here. He does have creep all over the map, so why not advance your spine crawlers? Could see some additional queens out in the map maybe to help with this creep spread, which has been excellent all game. And this could be Stephano's key to victory. He's got these spine crawlers in an extremely advanced position. He can fall back to those to help deal with the Protoss death ball. We do have some Void Rays added to the mix for Kiwikaki, but he's only on 4 Colossus now, so Stephano's done a really good job managing the Colossus count. And he's got a sick number of Broodlords who really should probably be spread out a little bit better. Gonna see them Vortex pretty soon, I can only imagine. But, oh, he can't get the Neural Parasite. He does. Stephano gets a great Neural Parasite on this mothership, and he's going to be able to absolutely massacre this army as a result. We do have enough energy for Vortex, though. I'm surprised we haven't seen it out of Kiwikaki yet. Instead, electing just to do a lot of direct damage to these Broodlords who are falling back to the safety of the Spine Crawlers, relative safety. That was just a crazy engagement. I don't think I missed anything. No, it's just a straight-up fight in the middle. Fight to the death. A lot of damage done to Kiwikaki's forces here. And he's pushing into the Spine Crawlers, Broodlords behind to defend. That is a sickening number of Broodlords. I love it. That is 14 Broodlords. A devastating count. Stalker's just not going to be able to DPS them down all too quickly. That's really all Kiwikaki has to deal with it. So Zerg has evolved a bit of his own death ball here, Stephano, with a just crazy number of Broodlords. I'd like to see him keep these Corruptors as Corruptors. All too often I see Zerg just try to get just as many Broodlords as they can, but really these Corruptors are going to be amazing against the remaining Colossus and the Mothership and the Void Rays. Well, no, they're not that great against Void Rays, but regardless, Kiwikaki's done a good job of denying this space to Stephano, and as such he's got a huge advantage in banked resources. But, oh, very, very nice recall there. Another recall trick from Kiwikaki, making great use of the mothership there. And that may be why we didn't see the Vortex on the Zerg forces previously. He's saving all his energy for recalls. He can just get free bases as many times as he wants. But Stephano has this deadly, deadly forward position, and he's pushing in for another attack. Nice fungal on the core of the death ball. And we're going to need to see yet more fungals on the Stalkers. The Corruptors are absolutely going to work on the Colossus. I think this may be GG in favor of Stephano. Don't see what Kiwikaki can do. The Broodlord count is just so high. Colossus not going to be able to deal with this number of Corruptors. But look at all those Stalkers warping in for Kiwikaki. This might not be the end. Such a good forward position for Stephano, though. He's going to be able to massacre these Stalkers, I think. Although, he's got no fungals on the infestors. They would have been his best bet to help finish up the Stalker count. And I think Stephano may have lost all his Broodlords and doesn't have much gas at all to get additional Broodlords back onto the field, only getting 4 additional Broodlords. At this point, he's really stuck just primarily with Zergling production. Just now, putting his next expansion up has been way too occupied with the huge battle that's going on, understandably occupied with that battle. But he needs to do some economic damage to Kiwikaki. This gold is really useless, although it's still getting Kiwikaki gas. So Stephano looking to push into the heart of Kiwikaki's base, destroy his production. And, you know, he has done the damage he needed to the army. Kiwikaki's bank has all but disappeared. And Stephano might take this game with his standing army. He's got a 40 supply advantage. And Kiwikaki doesn't really have a centralized defense anywhere. I think most of his supply is in probes at this point. He had 80 probes previously. So I don't think he has much of an army at all. I don't see where it is. I just see this handful of stalkers and a couple of colossus. So I think Stephano may well have taken this game, able to get additional broodlords onto the field. I thought he was in trouble there. Sometimes when Zerg gets into the late game, they just pour their gas into their army, and when they lose a good chunk of it, they're kind of screwed. But Stephano able to keep enough bases to get that gas that he needs for extra broodlords. And I think he can just take this defensive force for Kiwikaki, getting another mothership back onto the field finally, having lost it in that huge engagement back there. And Stephano with a nearly maxed army, I think, is just going to clear out all of the additional bases. He did manage to sneak Zerglings back into this base. Zergling's been the bane of this top corner base all game long. And going to be pushing into this, one of the last mining bases for Kiwikaki. Roaches first, massacring the cannons, kind of upgrades, sitting on 3/3 ups. Sick upgrades for Stephano. Only one air attack upgrade. That's what's most often neglected, I'd say, for Zerg forces. Oh, and we do have a ton of Archons down here at the final mining base for Kiwikaki. Should be able to clean up these Roaches, no problem. Roaches are mass pretty good against Archons, but that is way too many Archons and Photon Cannons and Stalkers. He may have recalled back down there. I apologize if I missed that. Looks like the mothership was up here in the corner, though, so that can't be the case. Regardless, Stephano did take a bit of a hit to his supply there, lost a healthy chunk of Roaches. And we're at another bit of a reset here. Both players relatively even as far as banked resources go. Stephano having a bit of an advantage in that regard right now. He does have his base back up and running finally. He is saturating it with most of his drones. I'm not sure how many workers he has at this point. He's down to 57, having turned a lot of them into spine crawlers, which with nothing to mine, you might as well. It's a nice little advantage that it gets late game. And Stephano is happy to sit on this extremely powerful defensive position, while Kiwikaki, I don't think, has enough units to break this. He's not quite yet maxed out again. Although his army supply is probably relatively equal to Stephano's. Stephano just has this crazy defensive wall of spine crawlers in both of the chokes to all his bases. So a bit of a reset here after that epic battle. It looked like Stephano may have been pushing in for the kill. Went for kind of some diversionary attacks, managed to kill this wall of photon cannons, but not much else, man. That kind of excursion into these two bases with his Roaches was not terribly effective. And Kiwikaki doesn't even have enough probes to fully saturate this base. He's actually having to build probes again in this late stage of the game. And we do have another engagement over here. Not within reach of the spines of Stephano. Caught a bit out of position, but the Broodlord's doing great work from the back. Some nice neurals going off on the Archons. And the neural parasite Archons do not get recalled, so that is a nice little something I just learned. That neural parasite units do not benefit from recall. Completely left to die, unfortunately, while the Protoss force was safely recalled to some other place. Can't quite find them. There they are in this choke here to the original natural of Kiwikaki. We do now have a 30 supply advantage for Stephano, but remember he does have... Cancel that. He has no worker advantage. No longer has any worker advantage. So he just has a supply lead, has a bigger army, and I have to say better army too. In direct engagements, he's been winning. The Colossus count is 0 for Kiwikaki, electing instead to switch to Archons. Kind of an interesting choice, but these are going to be largely negated by Neural Parasite. One of the units that's still good for Neural Parasite to be used on, given the huge range nerf that Infestors received. But Archon's always at the front lines, very easy to neural them, and once you do, Zerg has a very, very powerful unit at their disposal. So I have to give the big advantage to Stephano here as far as army composition goes. The mothership is the real X factor for Kiwikaki. He can use that very cleverly. He might be able to get back in this game, but I think Stephano has a decided advantage. He's going to have to use the Archon toilet to his fullest effect, Kiwikaki is, and Stephano has to be expecting it. He's seen the Archons. I didn't think of it till just now, but being a pro player, he no doubt is all on his mind. And it's going to be really, really hard to deal with. Kiwikaki is nearly maxed again, but both players really without any resources. They've just about exhausted this whole map. This landscape is barren. These two players have killed tons and tons of each other's units. Looks like Stephano's doing a zergling drop at this late stage of the game. Maybe just a diversionary tactic while he makes his final push. He does still have an advantage, his supply advantage down to 17. It was around 20, 25 earlier. And he's sending roaches into the back of all of Kiwikaki's bases, so that's a pretty cool tactic. But at this point, it's really not going to do that much damage. It probably would have been better served to keep these with the main army. Maybe he's trying to catch the main army out of position somehow. And that might be exactly what he does here, although he's kind of just backing the Broodlords off. He does have more than enough money to kind of remax. He maybe just wants to dump the supply of these roaches, doesn't find them too useful against composition of Kiwikaki. And these roaches in the back able to take out the Stargates, so that's pretty effective. This one was chrono boosted, no doubt was getting something cool out, potentially a carrier. Although I haven't... Oh, of course he's got a fleet beacon. He has got a mothership, so he could have been producing carriers. I don't see any on the field, likely just adding more void rays. But that harassment, getting Kiwikaki to run around, didn't do too much damage besides the single death of a Stargate. These roaches are being extremely sneaky, running to the mined out expansion of Kiwikaki, not going to be able to do much there. And the main army goes back to this defensive position. Both players at this point perhaps exhausted, not wanting to lose the game. Pro players of course very prideful, so it's very difficult to make that decision to push in at this very late stage when losing these armies. These armies represent the remaining resources on this map, so they are probably fairly tentative at this point. I don't want to say nervous because these guys play Starcraft all day. They probably don't get nervous anymore, but unless there's a GSL on the line or something, or a big payday, these guys probably don't get nervous anymore. But, you know, maybe they're considering strategic options. Stephano has had a bit of a lead, but as far as supply goes, Kiwikaki is now back even with him, so I think Stephano may have lost a bit of an opportunity. He does have these spine crawlers too, that's another X factor, but the Protoss has the mothership. Zerg doesn't really have anything like this unit. It's kind of a game changer. It does have its drawbacks. It's extremely slow, relatively easy to snipe with certain units, and you can neural parasite it, which that's something that's maybe a little unfair. That might be the one unit they want to make not neural parasitable, but with the range nerf, that's pretty fair, I suppose. And what do we have here? Stephano just posturing his units around again, getting as many Broodlords as he can, getting up nearly maxed with them at 180 supply. While Kiwikaki has fully maxed out, and this death ball is extremely terrifying now. Mothership is positioned to recall into the main now, so in the middle of this engagement, expect to see a recall. We're going to see the Protoss. Yeah, there it is. Wasting no time. Recalling into the main of Stephano, so we're going to have an epic base race here, I think. Unless Stephano elects to defend, which he is. He is going to defend his main base. I don't see where he can engage this army, though, unless he gets up the ramp very quickly. You don't want to engage the Protoss death ball at this kind of a choke here, giving them way too many advantages. Okay, he does make his way up the ramp of the Lings, then backs out. He does have the Infestors, which Fungal works very well up ramps, but these Zerglings getting roasted and toasted, losing about 10 supply of Zerglings, not too bad, maybe 20 Zerglings, and getting shots off with the Broodlords, so that's a good thing. Mothership's nowhere to be seen, no doubt setting up somewhere for another recall. There it is. As I find the mothership, Kiwikaki recalls his units back to safety, having destroyed the main base of Stephano. So Stephano, I think, lost a lot of tech there. He's got his Roach and Hydra tech still, but lost his Greater Spire, which is a devastating blow, can no longer morph Broodlords or Corruptors. And yeah, he had no backup Spire, which honestly, who has a backup Spire? He is building a spawning pool once again. He doesn't even have a spawning pool. But at this point, they really just need to either make a final engagement or go for a base race, because these players have mined all the resources this map has to offer for the most part. And little harassment at this point I find kind of pointless. We do have the Broodlords here, supported by Infestors. Going to see a lot of fungal growth, so a few Corruptors here. Oh man, these Broodlings just get instantly roasted, not being used to full effect. Some nice neurals on the Archons, fungal growth everywhere. Broodlords just pounding away. Mothership not really positioned to recall out, so it might want to use the Vortex in this situation. But no Archons really to take advantage of it. Some nice infested turrets going down. Those will die pretty quickly to the Colossus. But Stephano just way too many Broodlords. There's nothing really to deal with their numbers anymore. I don't think there's too many Void Rays out in the field. Only 3 Archons and a handful of Stalkers. And let's see what Stephano's at. He's at that magical 11 Broodlord number, which is so hard to deal with. But both players unable to crack one another. I mean, Kiwikaki does have some anti-air. He's got the Colossus, which just completely eliminate Broodlings as their spawn. These guys are tiring out my voice, testing my limit. So much action in such a long game. We are at 49 minutes now. My God. I did not look at the time before I casted this. I did not look at the results. This is game 2 of a series they played on the IPL. IGN's Pro League 3, which you can find on twitch.tv. Big promo to those guys for hosting this game originally. One of the players no doubt released the replay, I think. Regardless, we do have a situation where Kiwikaki's gone up about 20 supplies, so that last engagement pretty favorable. Stephano losing just about all his ground forces, lost a few Broodlords, and Kiwikaki confident enough to kind of poke at this front wall of Stephano's, which is just a menacing wall. And just a minute ago I said Kiwikaki is up on supply, right? And just as I said that, Stephano finding resources at the edge of the map, salvaging things, scraping with all of his workers, and anything that looks blue and shiny. Able to get up to 136 supply to Kiwikaki's 122. Electing just to build roaches because I don't think he can build too much else. That is an Overseer, not a Broodlord, so he has not rebuilt his Greater Spire technology. Is getting the Infestation Pit back down. Not going to be able to produce too many more Infestors, but I suppose that would be a good unit to add to the mix. Not going to be able to do too much against the Colossi anymore. They used to be great with a range 9 Neural Parasite, but now much more difficult to take them over. I think that could be a real good ticket to victory, though. If he's able to get great Neurals on the Colossus and Archons, that could give him the advantage he needs to take out Kiwikaki. And yeah, these players I think are poised for an epic engagement. Not much else they can do. No harassment to be done. There's no resources to protect. If they could find some way to offload the supply of their workers, that might be a little bit useful, although no player really scraping up against the cap anymore, which is really indicative of them having mined out every single resource. Not much of a bank for either player at the moment. Stephano pushing into this final base of Kiwikaki again. He did destroy the Nexus last time, and Kiwikaki can't do much else besides distance mine. Can't be too concerned about losing these workers at this stage of the game. And Stephano crawling forward again with those spines. It's a great move, making good use of the static defense he plopped down so long ago when he had a ridiculous mineral bank. DT on the watchtower taken out by the Broodlords. And we've got a slight supply advantage for the Zerg. Protoss has the Mama ship advantage, and we're going to see how this works out. Stephano with a pretty sick composition, really. Roach, Ling, and Fester Broodlord. Pretty good, not quite maxed, but they've, like I said, gotten all the resources out of this map. I just can't wait for this engagement. Looks like Kiwikaki is bringing his probes into the fray. No drones for Stephano, so there's that advantage, but he does have the spine crawlers out and about. And yeah, Kiwikaki's got the all too standard Archon, Stalker, Colossus, Mothership, and Probe Deathball. Looks like Stephano kind of advancing forward with his force, though. Not too close to his spine crawlers anymore. And this might be the engagement. Couple Zerglings losing their lives. And here we go, Broodlords firing at the Cloaked Force, enough Overseers to provide detection. And we're going to have to see some nice Neurals and Fungals out of Stephano if he wants to win this. The Broodlords are nice, but they don't do huge DPS. They just have that persistent Broodling force, which is cleaned up all too easily by the Colossus. So it's really, I think, going to be up to these Infestors primarily, and not the biggest Infestor count for Stephano. He's only down to 7 Infestors, no more gas in the bank. He could produce some Zerglings if he wanted to, but that's about it. And here we go, Stephano right into the Death Ball, kind of indecisive there, throwing down the Fungals now, and fully engaging with the Protoss, and into the toilet all the Infestors go, and I think all the Archons as well. I didn't quite see it, but this is going to be devastating for Stephano. I think that's all she wrote. all the range units for Kiwikaki chilling outside these 2 vortexes. Another couple Archons into the toilet. And no, there were no Archons in that initial toilet, but oh my god, the forces for Stephano completely massacred by the Colossus once they get out. Archon toilet, still way too powerful. That second vortex had all the Broodlords in it. That's going to be a game. Very well played by Kiwikaki, making very smart use of the Mothership, an extremely powerful unit in this late game scenario. So hard for Zerg to deal with. Stephano played a great game, had the tech that gave him a chance, but I think this is going to be all she wrote. 5 roaches and 26 zerglings is not going to be enough, Stephano. Maybe if you'd had it with that ball in the last place, but Stephano gratzing Kiwikaki, so I don't know if this was a best of 2 or some kind, or if Kiwikaki won a prize pool because of this game. But regardless, Stephano gratzing Kiwikaki, which you usually only see due to some kind of tournament win or something, but maybe just because of his advancement in the tournament, he was gratzing him. And that was an epic game. My voice is exhausted. Thanks to these 2 pros for playing the game, IPL for putting on the tournament, and thanks everybody for watching. That was a blast to cast. I'm gonna go drink some tea or something. My voice is exhausted and dead. And yeah, thanks once again for listening.